September 2024 is here, and with that, there are a lot of new games releasing that I think look very interesting. I hope by the end of this video, you have something that you are also interested in playing, whether you're any type of gamer and play on any type of console. I'm going to be breaking these different games down in chronological order from when they're going to be releasing start to finish in September. So now let's take a look at the first game, which is going to be Astro Bot. This game is set for release on September 6th, so as me recording this now, it's literally coming out just within a couple days, and it's looked like an absolute banger from everything we have seen so far. Astro Bot is an upcoming platform game for the PlayStation 5, and if you haven't heard of this series previously, this is actually a sequel to Astro's Playroom, which came pre-installed on the PlayStation 5 console when people bought it, and Astro is really just the mascot for the PlayStation console as a whole. If you are a platforming fan, this is definitely something you're going to want to pick up. Just like I mentioned, everything they have shown so far looks absolutely incredible. The previous two games have also been really fun platforming games just to kind of sink some time into, so if that's something you're interested in, make sure you go pick up this game. The next game I just want to really briefly talk about is NBA 2K25, definitely the most quote-unquote mainstream game on my list. What's really to say that hasn't already been said about these games previously? If you are a fan of the NBA, if you are a fan of the 2K games previously, you're going to want to pick this one up. If not, I would always kind of go in and just try it out for the first time to see if you like it. But aside from that, if you haven't been a fan of these games, you're really not a fan of the NBA, I don't think this one's worth picking up. There's going to be a lot of microtransactions in the game, like always. They pretty much just take the game from last year and re-release the game similar to what Madden and FIFA do every year, with a couple different things within the game that are going to change it up. I know they're making the open world city a little bit more compact, which is what a lot of players were asking for. But aside from that, one good thing about this game is it's also releasing, similar to Astro Bot, on September 6th. It's going to be on all consoles, including PC, as well as old gen consoles, so the old gen PlayStation and Xbox. So if you're interested, go take a look, pick it up. If not, I don't think it's really worth your time. The next game I want to talk about, which I'm really hoping and I definitely think is going to be worth your time, is Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. This game is actually my most anticipated game of September 2024, and it's going to be releasing on September 9th on every console and PC except for the Switch and old-gen PlayStation and Xbox consoles. If you are a Warhammer 40k fan or you have played the first game, this one is looking like an absolute must-play from everything we have seen so far. I unfortunately am not really one of those people. I haven't played the first game. I've also only really dabbled here and there with the 40k franchise as a whole, but despite that, this game is looking absolutely incredible and is looking like my most anticipated game of September. If you haven't heard or seen anything about this game so far, it's a third-person shooter action game mixed with both up-close melee combat as well as being a shooter. The main focus in single-player campaign, at least, is going through missions, fighting swarms of enemies with mixed-in mini-boss and big-boss encounters, which all look so far very mechanically interesting from everything that we've seen and from the feedback that the community has already given. The campaign is going to be anywhere between 6 to 12 hours depending on how you play it, but it's also going to have a co-op campaign as well as a separate co-op mode and PvP. This other co-op mode is called Operations, where you are playing with a group of 2 other people, picking between 6 different classes and working through missions with set revives in a very similar formula to Darktide. These also have different difficulties that will definitely vary up in enemies and the gameplay, and it's looking like a great side or even main mode for people that are going to be playing this game. The PvP mode, on the other hand, doesn't really have much info, but if you are a fan of multiplayer in third-person shooters and action games in general, this definitely seems like something that's going to be right down your alley. The next game I want to talk about is the PC release of Final Fantasy XVI, which is going to be coming out this month on September 17th. This game has already been released on PlayStation 5, so this is the PC release of this game, but if you haven't played it on PS5 or you're interested and don't have a PS5, this is definitely something that you should take a look at. The next game I want to talk about is Final Fantasy XVI, which originally released on the PS5, but it's getting its PC release on September 17th. And if you have played this game or you've seen it previously, you know how exciting a polished version on PC with better graphics is going to be. Now, don't get me wrong, the graphics were absolutely amazing on the PlayStation 5 version, and the story, in my opinion, is also incredible. It also has very fun and engaging combat throughout the entire game that is constantly getting added to it with more features and abilities all the way up until almost the very end of the game. It's a pretty linear game for the most part, with optional side quests as you go through the main story, but there are also bounties for boss-like enemies that are separate from the main game and separate from the side quests, as well that will give you rewards and materials for new weapons. So all in all, I do think this is a very good third-person action RPG, like I mentioned, with a great story and great combat, but it does lack in the RPG elements. Weapon upgrades, for the most part, are very bland in terms of what they do differently from previous weapons and from other games that are very similar to this. There's not a lot of customization at all in the game, and the game, like I mentioned, is a very on-rails experience. It's not an open-world game if that's something you're looking for. That being said, I definitely think it's worth your time if you haven't played it. It was one of my favorite games of the year when it first released, so if you want to dive into the game for the first time or you do want to play the PC version of the game, I definitely think this one's going to be worth your time and money. Another game that's going to be coming to PC here on September 19th is God of War Ragnarok, which, if you have not played this game when it initially released on the PlayStation 5 and you want to play this on PC, get it immediately. It is an absolute must play. God of War Ragnarok is one of my favorite games in the entire God of War series. It's one of my favorite action RPG games of all time as well. There's a great story where you play as the absolute badass Kratos himself, with missions also letting you play as his son for an entire different and varied combat experience. There is also amazing gameplay throughout the entire game, with tons of side quests and objectives to complete both during the story and after you complete the story. There's also sprawling open maps that you'll discover, where the game almost seems a bit open world at times. In addition to this, there's puzzles that are littered throughout the entire game with a Metroidvania sense of kind of exploration, where you'll see these for the first time and maybe not be able to do them, and then you can go back when you get different new abilities and discover different secrets and get new loot that you weren't able to get the first time you went through those different areas. In addition to all of this as well, there are crafting for new weapon upgrades and new armor, which have set bonuses that allow you to really dial in on the gameplay that you enjoy playing and create some super awesome builds. On top of all of this that I've kind of already mentioned, there's a roguelike version of God of War that will come with this game that fills in and continues the story from the main game. And this is not just a side tacked on mode. This is actually an amazing mode that you could sink 20 hours into alone. So if you want to hop back in or you haven't played this game previously, get it now. The day it releases, you will not be disappointed. This next game I want to talk about is called Enotria: The Last Song. Now this game is going to be coming out on September 19th as well, and as you'll see here in a second, the 19th is a pretty big day for game releases, but this game is going to be coming out on all platforms except for the Switch and old-gen consoles. Now, if you know me or you've watched the channel, I am a huge fan of Souls-like, and there is now another Souls-like coming to the market in Enotria. But what makes this one different from some of the other Souls-like games? So the main key feature here is a mask system that allows you as a player to wear the mask of different fallen enemies. You are able to gain their abilities, and this enables different various playstyles with up to 3 different customizable loadouts. The game is going to be offering over 100 weapons and over 40 different spells in a wide range of different skills and parry modifiers, allowing for a very flexible and relatively deep combat system. You will also be able to explore 3 main regions, engage with over 100 different enemies, and unravel a lot of different secrets that are going to be hidden within the landscapes of this game. So if you're a fan of Souls-likes, I have heard some good things about this so far. A lot of streamers have actually already played some of the initial parts of the game, so go check out Asmongold or Tectone. I think even Emaru and some of the OTK people have played this. So if you're interested in playing this game, go check out those to see how the gameplay is. I'm definitely going to be playing this game as I'm a big Souls-like guy, and there is now another Souls-like coming into the market. Now we're getting into another game that's going to be releasing on September 19th, and this is going to be Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster, and this is coming on all consoles and PC, everything except for the Switch and old generation consoles. Unlike a general deluxe edition, this one, like I mentioned, is going to be a remaster, and with the remaster, it's going to have an entire graphical overhaul of the originally released game in 2006 that is going to be coming. In addition, there is a promise for smoother controls, a fully voiced experience, and various quality of life improvements such as autosaving and revamped user interfaces. If, like me, you haven't played this game, it is set in a quarantined shopping mall overrun by zombies in Colorado, and the story follows a journalist named Frank West who is set to uncover the truth of this outbreak. Players can explore the mall, use a variety of weapons including everyday objects, and face off against not only zombies, but also other hostile survivors that are known as psychopaths. This is definitely the time to jump into the game if you are a big fan of these games in the past or you have not played these games before. It's definitely something I'm interested in, so if it's going to be getting good reviews here within the next few weeks after release, I'm probably going to be hopping in this game and giving it a try. Now we're finally getting away from September 19th, but a game that's releasing on September 20th, so one day after, so basically the same day, it's Frostpunk 2. This game is going to be releasing on all platforms, again, except for old gen platforms and the Switch. Now, if you're like me and haven't really heard of the first Frostpunk, Frostpunk 2 is the sequel to the original game, which garnered amazing reviews on Steam at over 90%, which for the most part is kind of unheard of in the gaming sphere nowadays. But the original was a popular city building survival game developed by 11-bit studios. Frostpunk 2, on the other hand, is set 30 years after the apocalyptic blizzard of the first game, where Earth is kind of remaining in a state of perpetual frost, and players are once again assuming the role of the leader of this very resource-hungry city that's trying to survive. Now, Frostpunk 2 will introduce larger scale city building than the first game and allow players to construct entire districts and manage the complicated relationships between the different parts of the city that you're running. You'll have to constantly adjust to what your people need, all while keeping things running smoothly and making sure that your city that you're running stays safe. If you're a fan of survival or city building games, coming off the critical praise of the first game, I think it's safe to say that this is something you should definitely consider playing this September. The next game I want to talk about is called Greedfall 2: The Dying World, and this game is going to be releasing on PC, on consoles, including the old gen consoles, pretty much everything that's not the Nintendo Switch. Now, I haven't actually played the initial Greedfall game similar to Frostpunk, but Greedfall 2 is something I am a little bit interested in. It's an upcoming RPG and a prequel to the initial game, and it's developed by Spiders and published by, I think you pronounced it, Nacon. But it's set 3 years before the events of the first game, and it's shifting to focus on a new protagonist, a native who's forcibly taken from their island and brought to the mainland of, again, don't know how to pronounce it, but Gakane, I believe. That is what it's called, which is the homeland of the colonizers. The game's narrative unfolds in a world that is ravaged by war, political conspiracy, and a deadly plague. In this old world, players are going to be able to navigate complex social and political landscapes using diplomacy, manipulation, combat, or alliances to regain their freedom and thwart a conqueror's ambitions that threaten both the continent and their island home. Players can create their own character, which is always something that I absolutely love, gather companions, and influence, apparently, their destiny through a very large mix of RPG elements. This includes, like I mentioned, character customization, but also tactical combat and impactful story choices. We'll see how true that ends up being. The game will also feature new landscapes, cities, and diverse factions, offering an expanded exploration of Greedfall's unique universe. Now, if any of this sounds interesting to you, definitely go play the game. If you're a fan of RPG games, I think this is something that's going to be a little bit up your alley. This is something I'm still a little bit hesitant on because I haven't played the first game, but from everything that I've seen, this game does look pretty damn cool, so if you're interested, go check the game out. We are finally getting now, before I go into the honorable mentions, the last game on my list, the 10th game, and this is Legends of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. This game is going to be releasing on September 26th, only on the Switch console. So if you've already been a fan of the Legend of Zelda games, or you're a fan of the franchise, this is definitely something you're probably going to be picking up regardless. But if not, hopefully I can give you a reason to go jump into the franchise or play this game. But Echoes of Wisdom is an upcoming action-adventure game, and this is going to focus on Zelda now as the primary protagonist trying to save Hyrule from mysterious rifts that are causing people, including Link, to disappear. So in this new game, Zelda's going to be teaming up with a new character that is wielding something called the Tri-Rod, which is a tool that really allows her to create replicas of objects that are going to be called echoes of the environment to solve puzzles and aid in combat. These different echoes can be bridges, rocks, or even monsters that are going to be used to help fight alongside Zelda, and then additionally, Zelda's going to have abilities that they're calling Bind and Reverse Bond, which are going to allow her to manipulate objects and connect to platforms or enemies to navigate the terrain. They also showed a unique feature called the Still World, which is a mysterious area that's going to be able to challenge players with more puzzles and dungeon-like gameplay, and Zelda can even transform into a sword fighter form, giving her combat capabilities. The game emphasizes this creativity, allowing players to use that Tri-Rod that I mentioned in various ways to approach challenges uniquely, making it a relatively fresh take on the familiar Zelda gameplay formula you might be used to. So again, like I mentioned, if you are a Zelda fan, if you have played these games in the past, you're going to be picking this up, but if not, I would definitely try to hop in and play this game. The Zelda games as a whole, there hasn't been a lot of bad Zelda games, so Nintendo's pretty confident when dropping new Zelda games, and for the most part, they've all been very good, so I think it's safe to say this one will probably be worth your money and worth your time, especially if you're looking for a really fun game to play on the Switch. So that is my list of 10 games coming out this month that I think you guys should play. Let me know which ones you're excited for. Let me know which ones you're going to be playing down below and why. And now we're going to get to my 2 honorable mentions, which I put in honorable mentions because one is a delayed game and the other one is a game that I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but it is giving people a reason to hop back in, and that game is Starfield, the Shattered Space DLC that is releasing on September 30th on both Xbox and PC. So in this DLC, they're going to be offering new enemies and new weapons, expanded exploration, and also vehicles. So with the new weapons, these are going to be called Vortex weapons. I know an example was Vortex grenades that you're going to be able to craft and use, and then the enemies are a new alien known as the Vortex Horrors. I know a lot of people were looking for fun and engaging aliens to fight, and not just like kind of the creatures you're finding on the AI generated worlds that there's really not much to do with other than kind of scan and move about your business. But they're also going to be offering expanded exploration. So the DLC is promising to enhance the exploration with a large number of new areas compared to past Bethesda DLCs. Now, this is a little bit of a red flag for me because a lot of the areas that were in the initial game were just AI generated boring areas to explore in the first place, but supposedly this is going to encourage players to discover hidden lore and navigate through challenging environments. So if that's the case, if they're really going to build these out and kind of handcraft these and handcraft an experience, this is definitely a reason to hop back in the game. And then the last thing is they're going to be adding a new drivable vehicle in the game, introduced actually in recent updates, but this is going to make traversing the different planets hopefully a little bit easier. I don't know how much it's going to add to the exploration experience. Like I mentioned, I don't think there was that much to explore in the first place, but if you liked Starfield, if you are excited for this DLC, I definitely think you should give it a try, and if you are just kind of itching to go back into the game, this is definitely the perfect time to do so. The last game I want to talk about and kind of briefly go over is Throne and Liberty, and if you're an MMO fan, you have known about this game probably for a while as it's been in a state of constant criticism. So this game is not going to be releasing in September anymore, which is why I put it in my honorable mentions, but now it's apparently going to be releasing in October on October 1st. This is a full-fledged MMO experience with a seamless open world, massive scale battles, flexible combat, and a morph mechanic that's kind of taking place of mounts. So it really is going to be focusing on PvP, castle sieges, and like guild combat, which supposedly is going to have thousands of players. They also are going to have PvE combat on top of that, which is going to have dungeons, boss battles, and environmental challenges that PvE players can play. And it also says that you're going to be able to play as solo if you're not really interested in playing in guilds or running dungeons, etc. Now, like a lot of Eastern games have, this game is going to have a ton of microtransactions where you can literally pay for gear and pay for upgrades. But one good thing about this game is it is going to be releasing on consoles, which a lot of MMOs don't do nowadays. Obviously, Final Fantasy XIV being the biggest that does and is successful. And the game's also going to be on PC. So no Switch, none of the old generation consoles, but that is something that, you know, might boost the player base a little bit. Now, this game in playtests has not been looking good. Their combat has not been really looking good. The combat is basically a dual weapon system like you've seen in, you know, ESO or New World probably, for example, but it has not been looking good. It's been looking very static for the most part. So if you are excited for just a new MMO in general, this might be something you just want to try out. But other than that, it's just in my honorable mentions because it is a big game release, and it is something that's going to be coming. It was supposed to be coming in September. That's now going to be coming October, but I'm going to hop into it, try it out, and just see how it is. Thank you so much for watching. Like I mentioned, please comment down below if you're excited for any of these games. I actually haven't made one of these type of videos before, and I really want to do this on a monthly basis because I am so interested in a lot of games that are coming out every month. But I know I do slur through words. I've been talking through these things like a million times. So if you didn't like this video, if you have any criticism or any feedback, or you don't want to see these videos going in the future, let me know. But if you do want to see me continue these type of videos going into the future, please also let me know in the comments. I really appreciate you guys for watching, and check me out on stream. I'm still trying to get through Black Myth Wukong. I might never beat that game. We'll see what happens. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Peace.